they had a nice Drew McIntyre history profile, the rise and fall and rise again and potentially fall again of Drew McIntyre. Then they went with the men's 5 versus 5 elimination. Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins on the Raw team. And remember, we did a preview of this and said, boy, SmackDown sounds like they're going to be in bad shape. And that came to pass. The SmackDown team, King Xavier Woods, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, Happy Corbin, and Drew McIntyre. But it wasn't as one-sided as that would lead you to believe. After the 14 minutes of entrances for this match, the very first thing happened was Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins got in an argument because they were teammates, and Kevin Owens got all fired up and went to start and then said, you know what, and rolled out and took a walk and got counted out. So he didn't want to participate at all. Did he not do that a while back on another one of these? Was it last year's Survivor Series or some other time where he was placed in a situation where he didn't want to be in and he just, or was it somebody else did the same thing?
I'm not exactly sure. It sounds like him. His gimmick is that he's difficult, I think.
Yeah, well, yes. And boy, talk about living your gimmick. So anyway, Austin Theory got a chance to do some things, body language, facial, selling like a heel, timing. He's tremendous. Rollins athletically is a step above most everybody on the roster, as we've mentioned many times, and just what they've done with his various multiple personalities leaves a lot to be desired. Sheamus, I noticed even in this company especially, looks like a radiation mutant. Have you, like, he looks like some one-celled amoeba that would crawl from the pond somewhere that has been radiated and form into a human-like shape, but he would still be translucent and you'd be able to see through him. It was very, very mutantish. Jeff Hardy at one point tagged into the match, clapped his hands, get the people clapping, and tagged back out. Which, as we saw, may have been the best use of Jeff in this company. Every time I see Jeff Hardy, I think he's going to hurt himself. He looks like he might be in pain. He doesn't take any of his bumps early in the match. He saves a couple, like the Swanton, for at the end, but he always looks like he's wearing a full bodysuit. I don't know whether he's going to crack into pieces or not. Do you get that impression?
I guess. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I did. He doesn't. I mean, because all the injuries he's had and all the bumps he's taken and however old he is now, I can't remember. Probably closing in on 45, isn't he?
If him staying here means we don't get the Hardy Boys in AEW, please stay here. That's my.
Oh, well, I'm not suggesting he fucking leave. I just worry about it. But anyway, there was a point there suddenly for no reason in the match. Everybody jumped in and just started hitting moves on the next guy in turn. Bing, 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 bing. And finally, Balor hit the double stomp on hapless Corbin, so we got rid of him. And then they got heat on Jeff Hardy, but it was very slow. And you could tell they're not picking him up and planting him, often. Suddenly they're getting the heat on Jeff Hardy, and then Lashley ran Drew McIntyre into the ring post and put him out. And Jeff hot tagged Woods, and Woods made a comeback, but suddenly Lashley just speared him and put the hurt lock on him. So there's the king of the ring. Boom, done. And I'm not even mad at Xavier Woods, but it's just they just decide, well, somebody's been in the middle of the card or a tag team or whatever for all of it. We'll make that guy the champion in 2 weeks. We'll make that guy the king of the ring, and everybody gets a turn. They had a big sloppy 6-way with everybody that was left in this thing, and everybody got wiped out, as so that they could get McIntyre and
you manage him? You managed him, McIntyre, right?
No, that was Mantar.
Oh, that's right. That's
cousin Mantar. McIntyre. God damn it, McIntyre. And Lashley go face to face, and forever they just stood there. And then they had a kind of an awkward fight. I think it's a Styles clash. And then they just planted it. Lashley would plant him, and then McIntyre would come back up and plant him. And they fought out onto the floor and went over the barricade, and both of them got counted out. They were on the floor. And again, I'm screaming, why is nobody counted out? And why do they just act like they can go out there and spend all day? This was the shortest period of time that two guys have been fighting on the floor since I've been watching wrestling the last fucking year, and they got counted out. And the people hated it. You could hear that they were booing at first. I don't know how long they booed. Maybe they did something about it, but they hated that particular finish, that both guys get counted out after being on the floor for a fraction of the time that they see people in regular matches getting away with it every fucking day, right? So that's where you lead to shit like this. When you do a finish that's correct after a long period of time of not doing the correct finish, the people don't like the correct finish. Not that this one was set the world on fire to begin with, but they get the people to start booing when somebody actually enforces the rules. So then, besides the fact that flattened the match out and made both guys look fairly stupid, then they had more people do more stuff. Sheamus beat Balor 1-2-3. Theory's got a great drop kick. And they were left with Rollins and Theory against Sheamus and Hardy. And Hardy had barely been involved at that point. And I thought, okay, Rollins and Theory are going to win this thing. That elevates Theory to the level of Rollins, who's been a main event guy there for some time. They're both youthful. Theory, obviously, more than Rollins, but they'll look good together. And that helps elevate Austin Theory, right? And Sheamus has been around forever, so's Jeff Hardy. It ain't going to hurt them. They're getting beat. That's where I'm already looking, right? Well, then it started going at a snail's pace, and old Sheamus cold-tagged Hardy, who made a block comeback, and everybody got mixed up and in each other's way. And I was just starting to write, this will not end. Why don't they go home? And Theory suddenly beat Sheamus by holding his tights. That was fine. And then Sheamus gets up and knocks Theory out, and then turns around and knocks Hardy out. What the? So now we've switched complete attention from, isn't this going to get Theory over by him and Rollins winning this thing, to why the fuck did old Sheamus just knock out his opponent and his partner? But then Rollins frog splashes Hardy, which would have been perfect way. Okay, then there's your victory. He gets a 2 count. Hardy kicked out. Well, it was there. It was fucking there. But no. Theory and Rollins go for a double superplex on Jeff Hardy. Hardy foils it and hits a swanton on Austin Theory 1-2-3. Seriously. So basically what's happened here is the guy that he's iconic, Jeff Hardy. He's not going to get any less over, but he's not going to get any more over. And it would have been a perfect position for him to get beat by these two young guns. Instead, Sheamus hits him with a knockout blow, and Rollins frog splashes him, and he kicks out of that and turns around and beats Theory, even though he looks like he's ready to break in half. And now it's down to Rollins versus Jeff. And finally, Jeff hit a twist of fate and then went for the swanton, and Rollins raised his knees and then hit the curb stomp 1-2-3, and it was over then. Past 30 minutes into this thing. So Jeff Hardy ended up getting beat, and Rollins is one that beat him. But they couldn't do it on that fucking little swerve in the frog splash. They had to let Hardy beat poor old Austin Theory first, and then, did that make any sense?
It made none, and as soon as you said that, the choppers started up again. It's become...
Are you shooting the opening? Are you shooting the opening to MASH over there?
I'm starting to think this episode was written by Dante, because this is certainly a divine comedy. But You know, this match was a problem for me because I hated it, and I tried to figure out exactly why, and there's so many reasons why. But, you know, one of the problems is Austin Theory, here's a guy with a lot of talent, and he's young. His outfit is the worst outfit I've ever seen. I don't know what they have him. He's like ready to float in water. I don't know what he's doing over there. But it didn't make any of these guys on the roster feel younger or anything feel more happening, having someone young there. He just felt like another one of those guys to me. And I'm sorry, the Jeff Hardys and the Sheamuses, and there's a lot of guys there who have been there for a long time. And even if they took a break and came back, they've been there for a long time. I don't know if I could ever be interested in Sheamus ever again. And there's a lot of Sheamuses there. I'm using him as a case in point. I've been seeing this guy for 10 years, 15 years, I don't even know how long. Working for the same company, being recycled time after time after time, working with a lot of the guys in this match over and over and over again. It's hard for me to be interested in a lot of what's happening in WWE. And you watch this, and there are guys who are technically sound, but they're in the middle of circus wrestling. Like a different style of wrestling. It doesn't feel live. Like you watch AEW, and I hate to compare things to AEW, and then everyone accuses me of being an AEW fanboy.
Oh, yeah, well, we're all on the payroll anytime we say anything good. Yeah,
exactly. But it feels live. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like WWE, it feels so canned even when it's live. And I just can't get into it. And I didn't like this match, and I couldn't get into the match, and I'm bored with a lot of this. Hope that made some sense.
It did. And the only thing that didn't make sense is why that all these matches have to go on forever.
Forever. They don't end.
Forever.
Yeah.
So, after that, we got Booker T selling credit cards and Cricket wireless spots. And then Vince coming out of the limousine that we referred to earlier with the golden egg.
Egg.
He should have brought the goose.
No egg. I think egg's like one of the only words he can remember. So they probably said, what does Vince want for breakfast? Egg. So, okay, you know what? He likes eggs. Let's do some kind of golden egg thing. So that way people won't pick up on the fact that he's out of his mind. And it won't scare the shareholders.
I guarantee you Bruce Pritchard was going around the building all day going, gobbledygook, gobbledygook. He used to love that.
The Rock, $100 million egg.